All right, dumb football questions here to wrap this episode.
This took a turn last week, Alex.
Why? What happened?
They asked about piss tests, and I went on a full tirade about how awkward the piss tests are in the NFL.
Oh my God, I saw the highlight and you were so right. I could not have agreed when you got on your hands and knees and you were like, go ahead.
Whenever you're ready.
I'll see the specimen now. You're like, dude, so coming from a guy who came into the league in the 2-year suspension, I had to take a drug test every week. After a year, I knew this guy personally.
Very personally. He knew you better.
I knew him to the point that he could call me and tell me what I was doing, right? Like, he'd be like, you must be at Chipotle right now. I'm like, you know me too well. He'd be like, I'll meet you at your house. And anytime I would leave to go somewhere, you'd have to take a piss. The minute you got somewhere, and every day you were there, and then the minute you got back. They're very, very unprofessional at times. You're like, hey, listen, I sometimes can't piss if you're staring directly into my eyes or my dick. Could you just look maybe away for a second and let me start? And they'd be like, no, absolutely not. You'd be like, Marty, I've known you for a year. Could you just look away? Sorry, bud. You know the rules. You'd be like, fuck, man. It was terrible.
Oh, gosh.
A lot of people in the comment section
come up to me this week and be like, dude, I didn't realize it was that bad. I was like,
oh yeah,
it's that
college
bad.
was worse,
dude. And
college
other people
was way
saying
worse.
like, Jay, you actually, you may have wanted to report. You may have gotten violated. Actually,
dude. When
this
they
is normal, right?
Hey, I'll be honest. When they started taking blood, it got to a weird place because it was like, dude, first you were looking at my dick, now you're taking my blood. Are you authorized to do this? And they'd be like, oh yeah, I got training. You'd be like,
trust me.
Is it like a 12-hour course? Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, just
Flicking
poke
the
me?
needle, like,
yeah, they were like, dude, we're fine. We're fine. The fuck is going? What am I doing?
Yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts. Yeah, this took a turn last week. I had to bring it up because I knew you'd have good stories because you're on the program.
Yeah, if you want to see Jay actually literally stand up and demonstrate the angle at which somebody watches you take a piss test,
you wish
can
I'm
find that on
joking.
the last episode. By the way, people, if you haven't already, thank you for getting us to over 21,000 subscribers. 25,000 is our next goal on YouTube. Click that like button, the subscribe button, and also on the audio side on Spotify and Apple, if you can give us a 5-star rating and a positive review, it helps us grow the show here. And while we're plugging things, I've got the brand new O-line committee trucker hat on my head here. Reduced pricing on our new platform, and you can use the code TRENCHES at olinecommittee.com for 15% off the entire merch store. Trenches at checkout, 50% off. Spreads are for losers, pancake shirts, you name it.
Dude, shout out to my financial advisors, LPL, who bought shirts for everybody in the entire place. And then the last meeting we had, they all had them on. I was so excited, dude. I have never been so excited. Oh, they were like, by the way, these feel great. I was like, I had no idea you guys bought those. You should have told me. I would have totally just sent them some. They're like, no, we're all about growing the product. I was like, I fucking love you guys. They
amazing.
were.
Love it.
I love them to death. They are great. They're my ladies.
Thank you. Yeah, support. If you want to buy O-line committee merch for your entire office, olinecommittee.com, trenches is the code. This is from Jared Lerdahl here. Why don't the world's strongest men and giant wrestlers make good football players? You would think that their strength and size would convert over, like, like a sumo wrestler or these weightlifting strongman guys, right?
Why not, right? Sure.
Why can't we just throw
I'll just go play
like Andre the
too.
Giant back in the day? Just throw
jumping
on
skates and stick handling is fucking easy, right?
No, I mean, here it's so much more than just brute strength.
Thank you.
Like, I watched the guy from Cuba yesterday in the Olympics that's won 5 Olympic golds as a Roman Greco wrestler, right? And that's
it's 41 years old.
He's 41 years old. Absolutely
awesome.
Freak show, right?
Fucking badass.
And you can get to a certain level with just brute size and athleticism. But when you hit the NFL, you have to be so technically sound. And if you come in with zero technique because you've never done it before, you'll just never catch up, right? You'll just never catch up. It's too far advanced.
Dude,
right?
Brock Lesnar is the best example.
Yes.
Brock Lesnar, speaking of fights at training camp, 20 years ago, he decided, I'm done with UFC I'm done with wrestling, tried football, then went UFC afterwards. But freak athlete, like world-class wrestler, 6 foot, whatever, 300 pounds of muscle, and all he did was just fight people at camp and never got the technique down first round.
Well, and also it's because it's not just the technique; it's identifying.
You
right?
Have to
like
think.
If you think first of all, you're like, just throw them at D-line, right? Like you just throw them at D-line, they'll be fine. It's like, yeah, but if we're gonna go sideways and reach you really quickly, and you're running forward and you have no idea what's going on, you're dead, and I don't care how strong you are. right? Like it's a combination of understanding what's happening around you at an absolutely ridiculous speed. Right. I mean, from the jump, I remember going from high school to college. You were like, holy shit, so fast. And then you go from college to the NFL and you're just like warp speed. And if you've never had any kind of ramp up like that before, and your first taste of like legit football since maybe high school is the NFL, you'll never be able to catch up from a technique standpoint and X's and O standpoint to where you're going to make a roster and do things, right? I'll be very curious to see what the wrestler who's with the Bills now,
Gable
right?
Steveson.
That D-line.
He trained with
very
us.
curious to see what he can do, but it's going to be a 2 to 3 year process before you can even understand like how to handle what it means to be an NFL defensive lineman. It just doesn't cross over.
Gable did have a nice get off, and like he understands the pass rush, but you're right, dude. Eventually in the run game or in like a nickel situation, we're going to be like, hey, this guy's a great pass rusher, but God, in the run game, he can't do shit. Let's just deuce the fuck out of him, right? Like these things don't translate over very well. Same thing with powerlifting. Those guys' cardio is not very good. Like I get that they can pick stones up and carry them 100 yards, but can you play for 3 hours at a ridiculous warp speed while thinking about a million fucking things running through your head? Oh, by the way, don't forget life is also happening at the same time. Like this is what's so hard about the NFL. And it's constantly what we tell people why they don't succeed is because you just can't get the X's and O's fast enough when it has to be instinctual. I shouldn't be taught a million times you have to step like this. It should be like, hey, Booney, when he puts his fucking hands on you, what do? I take him off, coach. Good. Don't ever let it happen again. Good. I won't. Like these are things that have to be translated super quick. We played with a guy in Frisco, Lawrence Okoye, who was actually an Olympian. I think he placed 8th in discus in the Olympics, and it was the same thing. He was 6'8", he was 315 pounds, and he had 2% body fat.
Yeah,
and he was a defensive end. And
we
were all like
in the preseason.
Exactly. And we were all like, oh my God, on day one. But then on day 2, we were like, oh, I'll go against him. Can I go against him? Can I go against him? Please, can I put him out here with us? Because he didn't understand that this is a fight while you're moving forward. And at the same time, oh, we just checked the play. So you're in the wrong fucking spot, Brody. And now I'm winning. Like there's so much going on that has to happen. It's really just instinct, like these instincts that we've built our entire life to be like, hey, I'm too close to the quarterback, or I'm in the wrong position, or I should climb here, or I should get back, or whatever. You can't learn that in the NFL because everyone's like, dude, we don't have fucking time for this.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Moritz Boringer.
Dude,
yeah,
they're just like, you just don't understand.
German wide receiver, the German mega.
Here's the
clone.
thing too. If a coach has to tell you more than like 2 or 3 times to fix something, they're quick to be like, dude, I just don't have fucking time for this shit. Like, where is this guy not understanding? Go through him. And it's like, coach, he's a normal human. He's never had to run through someone before. He doesn't understand that it's not going to hurt. Like in his mind, he's like, this is going to hurt me. I don't want to do it. Where we're like, numb the pain? Sure, I'll do it. Like,
yeah.
It's just the way we've been treated our whole lives. That's why I do kind of find it funny when these guys come from other countries and they're like the international program and you're like, it's a way for them to see like, this is real football, dude. There is no bullshit out here. You have 0 time to develop. You must learn on the fly.
Another one of my clients, I was watching film with him the other day, and he was like, oh, he was like, this O-lineman, he's a German. I wish I was a German. I'd be able to stay in the league forever. He's terrible. And you just watch it, he's just like, brr, like, what's happening? Like, you're just like, they just have no idea what's going on. But everyone has one because he's a body and he's a free body. Right? Like, it's a free body to keep an international player on the rosters. You're like, just go out there and stand in the way, I guess.
Just take some reps. Give a guy a water break. Yeah. So you guys talk about like cardio too, which if you're a weightlifter or something,
can never be replicated.
It's short, but it's like 70 short bursts in 3 hours.
It's just,
how do you guys train cardio during a season or off season? You're 300 plus pounds, but you also need to be, cardio at peak level.
When I trained with Chuck, we used to pull semis and push semis, pull trucks, push trucks. We used to do it for hours at a time. And it was kind of like, you're going to go for about a good 30 seconds pushing this truck, and then you'll get a 30-second break, and then you're going to push it right back. So you'd always be paired with somebody, do a lot of sled pushes for hours. Like, the problem is you can never replicate running the field, right? Like, our training, we never really liked to run. Chuck was kind of like, running's silly. We're not going to run. But when you get on the field, there is a little bit of running. Like, you got to run to the ball, and then you got to run back, and then you got to get in the huddle, then you got to think, right? And that's where I always kind of like, hear me. I took Anthony Davis and the way that he played, and I tried to emulate him a lot in the fact that he would get lost in the play. So he would never think about his breathing. He would just get lost in, what am I doing? And so like his breath never came up. And I'd always ask him like, dude, you're never breathing hard. What the fuck? And he'd be like, dude, I'm thinking about the play. And I was like, oh, I'm going to distract myself. He's like, exactly. Or I'll be thinking about what's happening next or what I'm doing next. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's when I like submerged myself. And that's when you're like, you're not really thinking about it till after the game. And you're like, I am exhausted. Like after the game, you're dead. You're not moving. You're like, I'm fucking going home and laying down. Like people that go out and party. At one point we did that. And now I look back and I'm like, I don't know how we did that because it's like, you're dead. And to emulate that, like you'd always come back and be like, I got to get back in football shape. The first week of camp is strictly football shape. It's strictly
100%.
100 plays, get you going, right? Get you running. And at the same time, while you're running, there's not a lot of times in the offseason you can hit yourself. You can't just run into a wall every day. You'll break down too fast. So it's like, once you start getting that rhythm of hitting and then running, and then you're like, okay, this is different. Okay, my body's now I'm getting used to the shock. Like we used to have the 3-day warm up, and it was like you could slowly get into shock, and then all of a sudden, first day of pads was goal line scrimmage to let you know we're fucking here. It's like that whole thing can't be replicated, and a lot of times that's the hardest part is you're getting your ass kicked, and you're having to think, and you're having to run, and then the coach is yelling at you, and then your teammates are yelling at you, and you're like, this can just never be replicated in the offseason. So you have to go through this badass training camp where shit is just fully exerted. And at the end of it, you're like, now I'm calloused and I'm fucking pissed and I'm ready to go. And I'm beat up a little bit, but I'm going to have to keep rolling. Like you'll never not be beat up, which sucks.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, yes, all of that.
Long
and
answer.
I think that the technique stuff is, like, you spend years mastering technique. And it's like, you could flip the question around. Well, you guys are 300-pound freak athletes who have cardio and can run around. Why can't you step into an octagon after 5 months of training and beat somebody because they know like how to twist your arm and make you tap out and you don't? Like
who was that DN that tried to go?
Greg Hardy.
Greg Hardy.
Yeah,
got in there, got his ass beat.
As he fucking should have.
Yeah. Nick Correa says, do players talk shit or complain about the cities and state that they live and play in?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck you, dude. I was in Cali. You kidding me?
I mean, everyone like loved being in San Diego, right?
Yeah,
so
the
like
weather's great.
You'd
Cali
be like,
weather.
oh, dude, the weather. But it was always like, God, these taxes.
Paying for
Yeah.
Right?
that.
Like,
yeah.
man, like these
You're paying
taxes.
for it.
Or like, I mean, if you're in Buffalo, I remember it's like, dude, Orchard Park, New York is not, it's not the move. Like, it's not where you want to be. It's nothing but a bunch of old people. Like, my wife hated it. She was like, there's nothing to do here, right? And then all the players would be like, there's nowhere to go hang out afterwards. I guess we'll go to this bar that's like a converted house. Like, it was just weird. But like, yeah, players don't love where they're at all the time.
Green Bay is the classic, like, the stadium is literally in a neighborhood,
Yeah,
a small town
that.
neighborhood.
I love that. I think that's great. I just think
Yeah,
it's
but you never had to live there.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, they never had to live in Cali, where you have no backyard, no front yard. Your neighbors are right on top of you, and you're paying 2/3 of your check to a fucking state that you're like, I am never going to live here again. Can I just have some of this back?
You have 1,200 square feet that costs $6,000 a month living.
You don't want to know what's 12,000 square feet, 1,200 square feet cost, dude. I mean, it was ridiculous. The house, and that was days where you'd be like, this sucks, but I got a job. So what am I bitching about, right? And you'd go out in December and it was 65 and gorgeous. We'd ride our bikes to work. I'd be like, what are we bitching about? You go to fucking Del Mar. You could go up into Los Gatos. Like you could go.
At least there was things to do in California.
So much fun
I will
stuff
say
to
when
do
we
out there.
made the Super Bowl run in 2017, I can remember being in Minneapolis in January and being like, why would anyone want to live here? Right? Like, why? Like,
Shut
this
up,
is
Jay.
terrible. I get it. Trust me. I know what you're saying.
We both have opted into that life here. At
Yes,
this point.
but
Because of
also
this,
like,
summers are
but
great.
like the summers are great. But I can just remember
Oh.
being like, dude, January, February, like the sun doesn't come up. Like I remember walking out to my car and I slipped on the ice on my driveway and fell on my ass. And I was like, oh, so mad. And I got back up, took 2 more steps, fell again, and was just screaming at the sky at like 5 in the morning on my way to practice, right? Just
There's
so pissed.
surveillance videos.
Just so pissed. And I was just like, why would anyone want to live here? Right? Like just super mad. So I mean, there's definitely, I think weather and taxes.
Sensitive.
Weather and taxes are probably the 2 biggest bitchers that people bitch about in the NFL.
But I will say Minneapolis is a city, like after the game was super cool. San Francisco,
Loved going out.
When we were in Frisco, and we were actually downtown, that was one of the coolest fucking atmospheres because we would have some of the coolest people coming. At one point, the Hells Angels came in and started drinking. It was like out of control. And you were like, this is fun. You'd go home into your tiny little apartment and be like, this is not fun. Like, this sucks. But you got to deal with it sometimes, right? You're young, and that's what's so cool about the league too. And I don't think everybody understands is like sometimes you just have to be open to travel. You have to be open to do new things and try new experiences. The NFL is going to open you up and get you in the most uncomfortable positions, take you to cities that you should never think you belong in, but you just have to make the best of it. And as long as you look around and you're hanging out with good dudes, you're staying out of trouble, there's not a lot to bitch about in the NFL. I hate to tell you. They treat us really, really good everywhere we go. Fuck the weather.
Where did you live in the Bay Area?
So we lived in Santa Clara. And that's where our practice facility was, because that's why we would all ride our bikes to work, and it was super fun. We were like called the Santa Clara Assassins. We all had big rippers, and we'd blast our speakers while we were riding at like 6:30 in the morning, and it was super funny. And the security guards would laugh and shit. And then we'd all just go in and eat breakfast and be like, "Look at our life. We're just such idiots. We're like 16-year-olds going to high school, right?" And then the GM would come in and be like, "What are you fucking doing here? Why don't you go sit in a meeting?" You'd be like, "Why don't you get a life, dickhead?" Like, God damn, fucking guy. But it's a lot.
Jay, did you get into the Buffalo Wing lifestyle?
Oh
when
yeah,
you played for the Bills.
You have to. Yeah, Barbell Tavern, honey butter barbecue wings with the homemade blue cheese.
Talk dirty.
We're going.
So
we're going to a Buffalo game. We're going.
I want to get a
wings.
Klein on Buffalo so bad, just to go back.
So
up
bad.
There.
If you play for the Bills, and I shouldn't solicit. I don't want to get you in trouble. But if you're an aspiring NFL player who
there you go,
would like to be drafted or premier UDFA, hey, let's go to this one here next. Let's go to David Bunda. I can understand that every lineman has a blocking assignment, or that they are supposed to maybe slide in a direction, and that could go awry. But what else blows up a play besides like the wrong blocking scheme? What are the things that could blow up an offensive play? Like there's missed blocking assignments, and we talk about those.
I think the number one thing is a miss ID to start the play.
Yeah,
right. So a miss ID, whether it's like, hey, center says we're going to go to this guy, and it's the wrong guy. And then everyone's going to the wrong guy, and then the play's like you leave one guy unblocked who's going to be standing there like, oh, that was the easiest TFL I ever had in my life, right? The other one is if you get quick beat, like a quick beat, right? And so you're going to get beat in the NFL, like as an offensive lineman, like it's going to happen, right? These dudes are too good. But what you can't have happen is the like immediately beat off the snap beat, right? If you throw your hands and you lunge immediately on a jump set and you get swam and all of a sudden he's in the quarterback's face, like the play's dead. Right. Or if you're going to go like, hey, I got to cut this guy off, and you completely throw a whiff. Right. And he just immediately crosses your face and goes, and the play's dead. Right. Like it's OK to get beat late at times. It's not OK, but like it happens. But if you get a quick beat off the rip, like the play's dead before it even starts, because then the running back has to make a jump cut, and then it's the flow of the plays off. Everything's done for. Like those quick beats up front, whether it's a tight end or an offensive lineman, ruin a play very quickly.
Or like Jay said, the miss ID. That's another one that could just fuck the whole play up from jump. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, you can kind of tell. I think another one that probably some people, and you don't really see this a lot, is if somebody doesn't get the kill. And every now and then you'll see somebody run like a zone while everyone else is setting, and you're like, oh, somebody didn't get the kill.
Yeah.
Not
like,
good.
The backside guard doesn't get the power check. And so, like, he doesn't
Is that
pull.
duo?
He doesn't pull, and then the Mike's standing in the hole, staring into the eyes of the running back. Yeah, that's a bad time.
What about, like, on the receiver end? Here's a dumb question for you. When they talk about, like, choice routes, or, like, you have to ID something as a receiver as the ball's being snapped, and the quarterback and the receiver or tight end have to be on the same page about, we both saw that, and that means the route is this. How often does that get misinterpreted between quarterback and receiver? And now
I don't have a great answer for that. I think majority of the time, though, is like if they're not on the same page, he's just getting to the next read, so it doesn't blow up the play.
Right.
Right. I mean, the other one that'll blow up a play quickly is if we're in like an empty protection and it's a hot read, and the receiver or the tight end doesn't turn to get the hot, and the quarterback's like, and pump fakes like, oh my God, he's not there.
Yeah.
Plastered, pick his teeth up. Like, that's another one that's really bad. If all of a sudden you come to the sideline and be like, I think they brought 6 on that one. They're like, yeah, tight end didn't turn around for the hot route. And you're like, oh, well, that play was over before it began.
Yeah, no chance. That or running the wrong route. I've seen that happen a few times where people are like, quarterback come back and be like, well, we ran the wrong route. God damn it, dude.
Zigged when he was supposed to zag.
What the fuck? It's all good. Yeah,
those are your dumb football questions for the week here, O-line committee. Great stuff here, boys. Booney, You're gonna
Hey,
feel
if
like
I
a new
if I don't
man.
make it, is the show
You're
going
gonna
on?
make it.
Is
Of
the
course.
show
The
going?
show always goes on.
Are you gonna find a third? Don't
Move it up 10.
You know, we've actually
Move
spent
it
the
up
last
10.
Move it up 10.
Yeah.
Move it up 10, boys. Your buddy's dying behind you. Move it up 10. We're gonna keep practice going.
Hey, just don't fill this spot with anybody, okay? Don't fill this spot.
We'll just leave it. We'll leave the empty chair.
Do it. Leave the empty chair. I love you guys, man.
Stop it. We'll see you next week.
Love you
Love
too,
you
man.
guys.